Alright, everybody, hello, welcome back here to Sports with Sparky here on WCYJ FM 99.5 The Hive. I'm once again, joined by my good friend Ryan Martin here, and in case, just a quick synopsis, we talked of final remarks on the Super Bowl, commercials, the halftime show, etc. But now we're going to get into really the juicy stuff, the real meat, the real entree of today's episode, and that is NFL free agency. So, officially, the season's over. Like I mentioned, we got 200 plus days till the next regular season game. But that means we also got 200 plus days till we see where some of these guys are going to be landing and going. So, first of all, the most important position in the entire NFL, quarterback. We got a lot of interesting situations. I do want to start and talk about Lamar and Daniel Jones. I know we just talked about that during the break. We'll make a little mention to it. A report came out that Daniel Jones is going to be making potentially up to $35 million a year now. I mean, you have one good year and 5 seasons being in the NFL, and suddenly you're going to get paid $35 million. I don't know. I think that's kind of a stretch. What's your take on that?
I can't see him do it. I can't see that. Oh, I can see the Giants giving that money, but I can't see any other team that would be stupid enough to give that money to an average quarterback. Fully. That has only, I think this was his highest pass yard season ever. He only had 3,200 yards.
Yeah. So
when you talk about a quarterback like that, I just can't justify giving him $30 to $35 million a year. That's the type of money you save for your elite quarter. Not elite, but
well, I mean, it's per. If you think like money per year, that is towards elite factor. I mean, yeah. The 45 and 50 mil a year. I mean, Daniel Jones, credit to him on this season. I mean, he does deserve a nod of the head or a pat on the back for. He did have a good season. He kind of turned around turned around the understanding of who Daniel Jones is. They weren't going to sign him to his 5th-year deal coming into this year. Then he said, bet, let's run it. And so he did. He helped the Giants lead to a divisional round playoff exit. But however, for the first time since 2016, they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
So you got to be proud of it. But I fully agree with you. Stupid choice, honestly. I mean, if you want to re-sign him, I think I could somehow get behind that. But for $35 million, that's a waste.
Too much.
That's a waste, especially whenever you have your running back who's also going to be a free agent this year as well, which we'll get into in a little bit. But another quarterback, just off the top of my head, I want to talk about Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Surprised me.
As a Ravens fan, I never want to let him go.
Yeah, makes sense.
He's been the lifeblood, and he's been the reason why we've been successful in the past 5 years. I mean, we have Greg Roman as our offensive coordinator, and I mean we have receivers like Dez Bryant and Deshaun Jackson as receivers 2, 1. I mean, you're not gonna have a lot of success like that. Mm-hmm. But when you have a man like Lamar Jackson who can just do it all, I mean, he can throw. I mean, I know people say he can't, but he can. He can run, he can scramble, make moves, and he can really just win a game for the Ravens when needed. And when he went out, Tyler Huntley came in, and he only won about, I think it was maybe 1 or 2 or 3 actually games, whereas Lamar might have won, I mean, who knows, 4 or 5 games. And obviously they lost in the wild card round to the Bengals because of Tyler Huntley's inexperience, I'd say, in reaching over the pylon. Or over the goal line, rather, at the 2-yard line. That's just a rookie mistake right there.
Yeah, no, I think he has talent. I picked him up for a free agency watch. We know he's a talented, quarterback. But we know he's Lamar Jackson-esque type qualities. I mean, between the scrambling, body-wise, they're pretty much the same. Scrambling ability, extending plays, but I agree with you. It was definitely rough, the Ravens year. I mean, if anything, we'd understand as well. I mean, going through a quarterback situation, not knowing who's who until the second half of the year definitely hurts. But nonetheless, Lamar Jackson did agree to hold off contract talks until the end of the year. They were going through for the last month before the season. We're like, hey, this is what we want, this is what we want. We couldn't come to agreement. Hey, I'll wait till the end of the year. So the end of the year rolls around. Now you got to think. Do you truly believe, heart of hearts, 100% honesty, do you think the Ravens re-sign Lamar?
I don't think they re-sign him just quite yet. I think they're going to put the franchise tag on him first. And I know people, once they see that franchise tag placed on him, they're going to think that they're going to trade him. But they won't just trade a franchise player away like the Texans did. Texans situation's a whole lot different, by the way. But they won't trade him. They'll find a way to sign him. And that's my honest opinion. I think it's going to be like a 5-year deal worth around $50 million a year probably. Nothing near the Patrick Mahomes deal where it's like 10 years. Because again, he's a mobile quarterback, so you don't know what type of injuries he's going to have down the line.
Yeah, you want the guaranteed time, and it's kind of different than baseball. They'll sign players to 13-year deals, but they're trying to get that guaranteed time and guaranteed money out of the way, because by the end of that, the money's going to be drained out. But I agree with you. I fully agree with you. I think contract talk is hard. We saw what happened with Roquan. Granted, Roquan is his own agent as well, but Lamar Jackson is a incredible talent. I've never understood why people hate on him so much. Yeah, cool. He runs around a lot, but that just makes him even more of a threat. His second year was definitely more difficult stat-wise, but he still brings a whole different aspect to the table. His arm strength's there. We just got to work on the accuracy mainly, and I think it opens up a whole new door of opportunities. So, franchise tag sounds about right, but they should re-sign him, to be honest. If I'm the Ravens, I'm re-signing Lamar Jackson.
Yep, and I think it's a need at this point. If you let him go and have Tyler Huntley start, that's just a bad idea. Or you get a top pick in the draft and maybe take C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, and you set your franchise back that far back. He's talking like 2 years setback or something to get those picks and ready, and a new quarterback ready, new system really. You might as well keep Lamar Jackson there and just keep him for the whole future, and so you can try to compete for the Super Bowl. Whereas you wouldn't if you trade him away. Exactly.
No, it makes sense, and I agree with you, fully agree with you. And before we switch up to a bunch of other actual free agent quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson is a not generational talent, but he's very talented.
Yeah.
He's very talented. I think he really opens the door, and like our good friend Robert Griffin III said, former Baltimore Raven man himself, pay the man.
Yep.
Pay the man.
Please.
Literally, please. And who's your watcher? So, kind of shifting into the other NFL free agents. We got some top-name guys. For some reason, Tom Brady's on this list. Don't know why. He announced official retirement. We're gonna have to email Sports Track real quick and give him a quick email. Just okay, what are you doing? But Derek Carr is the top guy on this list. I think that's the number one name that sticks out. Who else on this list to you kind of sticks out before we go into depth?
I think, a lot of people might say Jimmy Garoppolo, but I'm going to say Geno Smith. Geno Smith might be better at this point in his career than Derek Carr. Geno Smith had DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett as his weapons. That'd be it. But Derek Carr had the best receiver in football, and in my opinion, of course. Darren Waller was injured a little bit, but he also had Hunter Renfrow, who's a really underrated receiver in the league, in my opinion, and I expect him to be traded or something soon too. But yeah, Derek Carr, he's regressed a lot from his earlier days with the Raiders, where he really carried the team. But I think Geno Smith is going to be a hot name in the quarterback market. Do you
think Seattle re-signed him?
I think they do. I really don't think that they let him go because he's looked better than Russ in some years. And he's broken the passing yards record for the franchise in a season.
He has.
So, it wouldn't be a stupid thing to re-sign him.
No, he broke franchise records. He had the highest completion percentage this year, one comeback player of the year. Geno Smith is a name that should be popping up a lot of radars. I do agree. I think if Seattle wouldn't let him walk, the only way I see him... Honestly, I honestly couldn't think of a way, because Geno Smith isn't the type of guy. He's going into now his 10th year. He's not going to be getting paid an obscene, crazy amount of money, like $35-45 million. But, I could get behind Geno Smith getting a chunky contract. I think 3-4 years, ideally, because he is nearing the end of his career. He's definitely in the second half of it. They do still have Drew Lock, they have to worry about, who is not on this list. Because they did get through part of that insane deal with the Broncos, which at the time you think, oh my God, there's no way the Broncos won this trade 100%, and we saw how that turned out. But nonetheless, so Derek Carr as well. So I think probably the most, besides Aaron Rodgers, the most advertised name right now as a quarterback. He visited the Jets today. He was officially released on Tuesday by the Raiders. So therefore, no trade will be occurring with the Raiders or any other team. Officially released. So Derek Carr is a free man walking right now. He was visiting with the Jets, like I just mentioned. So, do you have an idea? Where do you think Derek Carr would fit best? Not where you think he's going to go, but where you think he'd go best?
I think he'd go best with the Indianapolis Colts. And they've brought in some veteran quarterbacks over the years that have not worked at all. I mean, Philip Rivers was the best one out of Carson Wentz and Jacoby Brissett and all of those other quarterbacks. And I think you got to bring them in and try it one more time maybe, because I don't see where they're picking right now. They might be able to pick C.J. Stroud or somebody, but Derek Carr would be a great quarterback to really just like mentor one of those young quarterbacks.
Yeah, they are. They have the 4th overall pick this year. I mean, to me, Bryce Young's going to be the first quarterback taken. So in the first 4 picks, it's a very, very legit reason that Texans take Bryce Young, and then that C.J. Stroud could go to the Colts. Do you think would you go with? Are you sure? Would you go with Derek Carr? Or would you think about taking C.J. Stroud or someone instead?
I would think about taking C.J. Stroud and try a younger route, but I also wouldn't hesitate to get both of them and really have Derek Carr teach the young quarterback how to do it, because C.J. Stroud is definitely not going number 1. I wouldn't say. I think Bryce Young's that much better, especially playing Alabama. But you see these quarterbacks who have sat their first year, like Patrick Mahomes, under a veteran quarterback, and really learn the game of football. I think that'd be beneficial for Justin Fields, C.J. Stroud.
Justin Fields could use some veteran experience. Don't worry, you're not wrong about that.
Too, yeah. But yeah, I think bring Derek Carr into that franchise and C.J. Stroud, having C.J. Stroud sit the first year and really learn the game and learn how to play the game from a vet who has almost won an MVP. If he didn't get hurt, maybe, would he have won it or would he have not? It's questionable, but I think it'd be a good mentor.
Because think about Derek Carr, I honestly think the Jets, I would like to see him with the Jets. You got Garrett Wilson, C.J. Uzama, Tyler Conklin, getting involved with him. You also got Braxton Berrios. I think the running back room, especially now that you get everyone's healthy, everyone's back, I think that opens up a lot of opportunity for it. But Indianapolis just as well deserving too. I mean, Michael Pittman, you need to get him involved as much as possible. He definitely had a down year from what we've seen in his rookie year out of USC. So I think get him involved. Somehow maybe elevate the play of Jonathan Taylor too. Indianapolis has some head coach things to work out. They haven't announced, or they actually did just announce an official head coach. Former Eagles coordinator, so they did bring him in. But it makes me laugh because I'm like, what are we doing? They haven't been able to get right recently out of quarterbacks for Indianapolis. So Derek Carr would make sense. But now, do you believe he goes to Indianapolis, or where do you think he's legit going to go?
I think maybe he's going to the Saints maybe. And the reason why I say that because he's visited them twice already. And so I think they're doing something right and trying to recruit him over there. And I mean, he's only going to sign a 1 or 2 year deal. He's at that age where he's going to not sign a 5 or something year deal long. And so if he's probably going to go to the Saints, because the Saints direly need a quarterback, especially with Andy Dalton being a free agent. And I think Jameis Winston might be too. I don't see him. Maybe not actually.
I'll double check for you.
Yeah, but they could really use the quarterback help in New Orleans. And if not New Orleans, though, he's got to go to the Jets or Colts, I believe.
It's to me, I think it's like there are definitely 3 teams that stick out above the rest. A lot need help, but it's like for Houston and Indianapolis being in the top 4, you're going to get the 2 best quarterbacks in the draft. You have that option. So I think, of which, make sure to stick around because we will be talking about that mock draft shortly. But, no, I honestly, I think personally he's going to the Jets. I think the Jets makes perfect sense. It looks right, too. I think looks are appealing. Aaron Rodgers, to me, in a Jets uniform doesn't look right.
Oof.
It's a different green I'm not used to. I don't think I like that too much. I think, if anywhere, Aaron Rodgers, stays with Green Bay. I think Derek Carr goes to the Jets, although I wouldn't mind him seeing in a Colts uniform either, because I think he could bring up the level of play they need there.
Yeah.
But the Saints are a legit option, too. Yeah, like you mentioned, you go down twice. There's something working there. There's something pulling him there, so you got to realize has to be an option on his mind.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree with that. I mean, he's even before they were saying they were going to trade it to him, and I felt like he was going to be released all along. I don't think he wanted to give the Raiders anything in return for him.
No.
But yeah, it seems like the Saints have really got a grasp on him to me. Maybe the Jets. I could see the Jets though too, having visited them now too. It does look like it's going to be either one of those three teams, though.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see. Well, of course, we got a long time, so it's not like there should be a
Mm-hmm.
rush decision. But for Derek Carr, this decision seems to be coming up shortly. Make sure to stick around for that. I know I mentioned Aaron Rodgers staying in Green Bay. I think personally that's where he goes. What's your opinion on Aaron Rodgers' take right now?
I think, this happens every year with Aaron Rodgers and a few other quarterbacks, too, where it's like they might get traded, they might not. They bring it up, and it's like the franchise is willing to trade them, but nothing ever happens. But I feel like it's different this year. And I mean, we saw the quarterbacks. I mean, one of those quarterbacks that had forever been saying like he might get traded or something was Russell Wilson, and he did get moved last year, and the organization actually said that we wouldn't trade him. So I mean, I think everybody's tradable at this point, and I think that that the Raiders might actually trade for Aaron Rodgers, which I mean,
Devontae's okay with that. He's made that abundantly clear.
yeah,
He's very okay with. I mean, the two quarterbacks he's okay with playing with are Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers. You just lost Derek Carr. Why not go for Aaron Rodgers? It makes sense. I mean, the team needs a jump start in something else because every year we think they're rebuilding and getting it better each year. They prove to stay in the same spot. It seems like they've been idle in the same spot for the past 4 years.
yeah, exactly. I mean, Aaron Rodgers shouldn't cost a first round pick. Maybe 2 seconds or a second and a third. But he's what now, like 37 or something years old. He's old.
Yeah, he's almost as old as Big Ben. I do know that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he's only gonna sign maybe like a 1 or 2 year deal. So if it doesn't work out, you don't have a contract after that 1 year deal. And if it does, you sign him for another 2 year deal to maybe
Finish out.
go out with their Devontae Adams as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't know, but what you said was actually a really good point. This happens every year with Aaron Rodgers. It's kind of like a diva situation.
Yeah.
Where's Aaron going to go? Who's he going to be with? How's it going to work out? So, I mean, I don't know. I've seen him so many times go back to Green Bay. To me, he's going to finish his career in Green Bay, whether he likes it or not. But Vegas is a legit option, and I think it is. I think he's okay, especially with, playing with Devontae Adams, his greatest receiver. Those two have a connection that's, to me, top 20 all time.
Yeah.
I say 20 because there are the really good connections. But Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. But do you think now say Aaron Rodgers goes to Vegas, where does Vegas land in that AFC West?
I think they come in second place. I think that's how big of a difference Aaron Rodgers would make from Derek Carr. I mean, you got the Chargers, and I'm not really ready to make sure that the Sean Payton Denver Broncos are that good yet. I'm not going to crown them.
Especially with Russell Wilson, technically his second year, but it's still just a hit or miss with that guy.
Oh my goodness, it was terrible this year. So I'm not ready to crown them anything. I still think they're going to finish fourth in the division. But if you give the Raiders Aaron Rodgers, a quarterback like that, I think they finish second. I mean, we said that the Chiefs were not going to finish first this year because of all the offensive and defensive talent the AFC West added, but yet they won the Super Bowl. So I'm going to keep them there as long as Patrick Mahomes is playing quarterback.
Yeah, no one's, to me, as long as Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are together, they are going to finish atop of the AFC West. I think the biggest thing for, honestly, the other three teams in this division is coaching.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Josh McDaniels. You got Sean Payton. Not that Sean Payton doesn't have an incredible resume. It's just a new team. Took a year off. We don't know where it's going to be with, especially with Russell Wilson. That's the only reason I put him in this category. And then you got Jacob Staley, who to me he's my least favorite head coach.
Yeah.
The way you go out last year, you lead by 27 points, and you choke in the game. You can't win the big games. The first 2 years, you got Justin Herbert. You can't lead them to the playoffs when they should have won the playoffs multiple times. They gave up so many leads, kind of like Vegas did. Vegas gave up 14-point leads or more in the season this year and lost those games. So, but you bring in Aaron Rodgers. That brings in a whole different mindset. Now, the Raiders, to me, would have got rid of McDaniels in a heartbeat if it weren't for money situation.
Mm-hmm.
They physically, money-wise, cannot get rid of Josh McDaniels for another, 3 years.
Yeah.
So you got to ride out with them. So McDaniels, first of all, you say a prayer because God is helping you out here. You could have been given the boot and you're staying because of money. This is your chance to rebuild and reset. You can always change minds. There's no question about it. There's more than enough time to change minds. Do you think Josh McDaniels with Aaron Rodgers can do that?
Josh McDaniels is probably, one of the worst coaches. I wouldn't put him at the worst, but I want to.
I mean, granted, he was a coordinator for a long time, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah. One of the worst. As we saw, I mean, I'm not calling Luke McFleur a bad coach but I mean, having Aaron Rodgers as your first quarterback, as your first year head coach is not that bad, and having Devontae Adams, and they didn't really have a great, they had a pretty good decent defense, but I don't think they should have been anywhere near competitive as they were in those times. But if you bring Aaron Rodgers, you have playmakers like Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, who I think they'll resign. They'll talk about that later too. But you got Hunter Renfrow. You know, you build the offensive line up a little bit too, and I think you
that's my number one need for Vegas is offensive line.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when you get on, hopefully Logan will be on next week. He could talk to us more in depth about especially Vegas's needs. But no, I think honestly, second or third place is not a bad play if you get Aaron Rodgers for Vegas. I don't think that's a bad take at all. I mean, to be honest, I think Denver's going to hold that 4th spot next year. These are obviously way too early predictions. However, you could never be early with predictions, so that's fair, very fair. Do you have any real quick before any last comments before we switch over to our next position?
I don't believe so.
All right,
that's
running back. Let's open that door. Running back. Some notable names: Saquon Barkley, Kareem Hunt, Jamal Williams, Josh Jacobs, Mark Ingram, Raheem Mostert. The list goes on and on. There are a good plethora. Latavius Murray is in this list, former Baltimore Raven. Kenyon Drake, former Baltimore Raven.
Oh boy.
That Marlon Mack never played for the Ravens, did he?
No.
No, I don't know why for a second I thought he did, but nonetheless. Obviously, there are names that stick out to you here. Saquon, Jamal Williams, Josh Jacobs. Do you think those guys resign with their teams?
I think, I'm leaning towards Josh Jacobs leaves, actually. I know I said that I wanted him to stay, and there's a good chance that he does stay. He wants to be in Vegas, but they declined his 5th-year option, which I kind of thought was weird since he's been in a good running back.
For 4 of the 5 seasons he's been there, he's been over 1,000 yards rushing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he had a little bit of a down year maybe last year, but he had a great year this year, and his price went booming up. And I think he's better than Saquon Barkley. But I think Saquon re-signs if they don't give Daniel Jones that lucrative contract, of course. I think Josh Jacobs leaves and goes to a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, and probably I think Miles Sanders is going to get the boot too because he hasn't been really used well in Philly.
I would if I'm Eagles. I'm not resigning Miles Sanders, and it's not because he's not talented. I think he hasn't produced enough to get a contract deal. I'm sure in a lot of other places he will be picked up, so I'm sure it's not a problem. But I agree with you. Honestly, I think Saquon stays with the Giants. But if they do give Daniel Jones a meaty contract and give Saquon a little bit of a lesser one, that does open some eyes and ears as well. For me, Josh Jacobs, I don't think he stays a Vegas Raider as well. I think there's too much there. I think any team now could just approach him. You have 1,600 yards your last year. You got a lot to continue to prove and stay. But at the same time, if you're given a good team that makes it better, I think at Vegas he would struggle with that. Because the last 4 years, like we mentioned before, Vegas has kind of been stalling out. So, for me, Josh Jacobs in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform. Not bad, and nor is it impossible to get behind. I think, obviously, like we said, Miles Sanders kind of gets the boot. Raheem Mostert, I don't know where he's going to go. He's almost 31 years old. I don't know where he's going to go this year. Raheem Mostert only ran for 528 yards, he only ran for 820 yards this year. He has out in the field for 528 snaps. He's dealt with a lot of injury. I don't know where he's going to go. There's just a lot of backup running backs on this list when you look at them. Jamal Williams, however, coming off his 17 rushing touchdown season, he clipped 1,000 yards by beating the Packers Week 18 of the NFL season, the final game of the NFL regular season. Stays in Detroit.
I think he does, and I think it's a really nice compliment to DeAndre Swift. And I know Lions fans would like to see DeAndre Swift out on his own, but he's gotten injured so many times. It's constant injuries concerns with him. So I think Jamal Williams is a really good running back to complement him. Really good power back, And I didn't know he had 1,000 yards in the season. That kind of surprised me.
Yeah,
you
he
know.
just. I mean, he 66 yards over. He did eclipse it in the Week 18 game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was. I mean, from what you see, he was also incredibly entertaining on TV. Him and Najee have the best post game interviews I think I've seen all year.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, he's just all goofy and stuff, and it's funny. It really brings another element to football, and it's I love him, and I think he's gonna get a little bit more paid this year.
Oh yeah,
and a lot more paid.
He
I
broke
should
Barry
say.
Sanders' rushing touchdown record. That's always, of course, an accomplishment. He teared up over that, and then, of course, following up, he's like, "But I'm still the great. I'm buff. I'm great. I'm excited." He's a lot of fun to watch and listen to. But I mean, yeah, no, I made mention to it. There are a lot of backup running backs on this list. I mean, Boston Scott, Sam J.P. Ryan, Ronald Jones, Miles Sanders, Jerick McKinnon, Matt Breida. I mean, it's Royce Freeman, Latavius Murray, Kenyon Drake, Marlon Mack, Devin Singletary, Damian Harris. I honestly think I think Damian Harris is one of the most underrated running backs in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Not even a question in my mind. I have his jersey. I think he's excellent. He came out of Alabama. I think he's a great running back. I just think he needs a line to help block for him.
Yep.
And that really helps. Granted, Matt Patricia offensively as the coordinator this year did not do a good job. People have addressed that.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think Damian Harris would fit best?
I think it's really tough because he's a great power back, and he is. And I think he kind of got maybe a little bit misused by the Patriots system. It's tough to see where he would go, but maybe let me think about this here real quick. If Josh Jacobs leaves Las Vegas, I think that's a good spot for him to go. Where Josh Jacobs, he's a bit of a power back a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I could see him kind of fitting that scheme, especially with the bad offensive line play. You want somebody that can break a few extra tackles and get a few extra yards in Las Vegas, and I think that he'd fit best there, maybe in Josh McDaniel's scheme.
Yeah, no, I mean, Damian Harris, I think, is a guy you can put really anywhere. He works with whatever you got. They're kind of working up Stevenson right now as their number one guy because, I mean, near the end of the year, Damian did get hurt. I mean, he is an unrestricted free agent, Damian Harris. His cap hit is not even $1 million. It's $907,000 cap hit. He ran for only 400 yards this year. Granted, I mentioned he was hurt, 3 rushing touchdowns as well. So, I mean, I'd like to see him be used more. Granted, a different system. I don't know. I really don't know. For right now, it's a little early for some of these later, for these younger backup role guys to kind of maybe talk about. But something that is not too early to
It's Bryce Young.
Bryce Young.
It's
Bryce
definitely
Young.
Bryce
Yeah.
Young.
Not really a question. Not really. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Fully agree with you guys. Just in case you were curious, Bryce Young. His completion percentage in 2022 was 64.5. He started out his first year in Bama was 59%. Progression really nice. He threw for almost 3,400 yards. He 32 touchdowns, 5 picks his last year. Pass ratings 115. Not even a question for me. Bryce Young is the first overall pick. Second overall pick. Now it is the Bears, technically, as we mentioned. Who do the Bears take?
I think they take Will Anderson Jr. They need some edge rusher help after trading Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn. And I believe they take Will Anderson.
Yeah, I second it. I also think they're going to take Anderson. I think he's probably the most talented player in this draft, and I think that the Bears, they need help in a lot of places, so why not start by getting a guy as talented as Will Anderson Jr. to anchor that defense?
All right, I'm down with that. I mean, there are multiple options you could go with this, but Will Anderson, without a doubt, is one of the top guys remaining in this draft, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So, first 2 picks, Alabama players. Makes sense. Top 2 guys in the draft. The third overall pick this year belongs to the Arizona Cardinals. Now, we're not. Do you think are we trading this pick? Are we keeping this pick? And if we do, who are we picking?
I think the Cardinals will probably stand pat at 3. And for me, I think they go with Jalen Carter. I know we talked in the free agency segment about finding a guy to replace J.J. Watt, who just retired. And I think Jalen Carter can be that guy at number 3.
I like that too, actually. I was going to say Jalen Carter too. He's such a beast. And if he's there sitting at 3, I think the Cardinals have to take him. I don't see anybody else who they can take right now.
All right, Jalen Carter, a defensive lineman out of Georgia. Number 4 pick belongs to the Indianapolis Colts. To me, I think it's simple what they need, what their number 1 position of need is, and the guy remaining here. I think we can all agree. C.J. Stroud.
Yep, 100%.
Absolutely.
C.J. Stroud, I think Will Levis is kind of overrated. Not kind of, he is definitely overrated. This past 2 years, C.J. Stroud has thrown, let me just do the quick math here, has thrown 85 touchdowns and only 12 picks. Yeah, I'm going to give C.J. Stroud to the Indianapolis Colts, who potentially could, if we think about it, have Mike Gesicki or somebody like that as his number 1 tight end. All right, Seattle, through their trade with Denver, got the 5th overall pick this year. Seattle's number 1 needs right now: guard, center, and defensive lineman. What are we thinking here, guys?
I'm thinking maybe Tyree Wilson. I can't even name an edge rusher on the Seahawks right now. I know they do need offensive line help too, so maybe Paris Johnson. But in the spot they are right now, pick 5, I would pick somebody who could have that upside to be the next great edge rusher in Tyree Wilson.
Yeah, I think they go Wilson too. I think potentially maybe they go for Peter Skoronski just because they need a guard, and there's been talks about Skoronski possibly moving inside to guard just because of his arm length, but I think ultimately for Seattle, I think they have to focus on the defensive side first, so I think they go with Wilson with this first pick.
Tyree Wilson, the 5th overall pick for the Seattle Seahawks. Give it to them. The Detroit Lions are now officially on the clock with the 6th overall pick. They got this pick from L.A. D-line, linebacker, cornerback. We mentioned the defense is the number 1 need for this team. Personally, for me, I'd go secondary for this team first. I think it's the number 1 position of need for them. I personally would go Witherspoon or Christian Gonzalez seems good to me as a top pick for this. Witherspoon is ranked 6th. What do you guys think?
I think I would take Witherspoon here too, just because he is ranked a little over Gonzalez, but I think they couldn't go wrong with either of those 2 guys right here.
All right. Ryan, you agree?
Yeah, I agree. They need to go secondary.
Definitely. So Devin Witherspoon will go the 6th overall pick to the Detroit Lions. All right, 7th overall pick belongs to the Las Vegas Raiders, who are in need of offensive line, quarterback, and DB. That is, again, all these positions I name are listed are via our good friends at PFF. So, what are we doing here? If we're how are we picking here? What are we thinking?
I think they might take Will Levis here. They need a quarterback after Derek Carr was released. They might get one in free agency. They might even get Aaron Rodgers, as we talked about before. But I think they might take Will Levis here as quarterback. It's a dire need right now.
Yeah, I agree. Right now, they don't have a quarterback on the roster unless they want to start Jarrett Stidham next year. So as it stands right now, I think Will Levis is definitely the pick.
I'm gonna personally. Will Levis is definitely gonna get picked here for the mock draft. Personally, I think they go offensive line. I think that's a number one need for me. But no, Will Levis. I mean, quarterback is definitely a needed position here for the Raiders. So we'll give him off to the 7th overall pick. So Atlanta Falcons sit at 8. I don't know why they're listed at quarterback as needing help because they did just draft a rookie last year with Desmond Ridder. When, of course, Marcus Mariota as well. Granted, I mean, it's not like it's excellent, amazing talent, but it is something that can hold you over. So, quarterback, receiver, edge, and linebacker. Gentlemen, what are we thinking here?
Yeah, I mean, if you're that desperate, which I don't think they are, they could take Anthony Richardson, but I don't think they do. I think they need another receiver. I know they just drafted Drake London last year, but outside of that, who you really have? So I think they're going to go Quentin Johnson.
I like that pick as well.
Out of TCU.
He's Quentin Johnson, just in case you're curious. Overall grade in 2022, 76.2. It's one of the best in the draft class. He had played 365 pass snaps. He was in the slot 57 times. He had 60 receptions for over 1,000 yards, averaged almost 18 yards a catch and 6 touchdowns. Of course, an impacting player for TCU. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, I agree too. I think they definitely need a receiver because, again, outside of London, they don't really have anyone. Another potential one, maybe Lucas Van Ness. They do need edge help, but I think ultimately Johnson is the pick they take.
Alrighty, Carolina Panthers sit at the 9. They got a lot of they need help with. Honestly, an underlying factor I think that they should be considering is running back, but what do you guys think?
I think that Bijan Robinson would be worth the pick, but I ultimately don't think that at this point in the NFL that running backs are valued to go at pick 9, unfortunately. So I don't think they're going to take a running back. I could see them possibly going Anthony Richardson here. I mean, maybe Sam Darnold proved that he was worth competing for the job this year, but even if you think that way, I think Richardson's a guy who could be sitting on the bench for a year to learn, so I think the Panthers could take Richardson.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's been talk of him going top 10 too, and I don't think the Carolina Panthers let this upside fall any further, and I think they take him.
One quarterback was taken in the first 2 rounds last year. We have 3 quarterbacks going in the top 10 picks. I like it. I agree with you guys. Anthony Richardson to Carolina could be very exciting. I think it's a good fit as well. Number 10, the second, I guess you could say the second place overall team in the 32-team league this year, the Philadelphia Eagles, have the 10th overall pick they got from New Orleans. According to PFF, their number one need right now would be wide receiver, guard, and center. To me, you don't know what is going to happen with Jason Kelce, whether he's retiring or not. So, to me, I would be considering some O-line help because you are going to lose a couple guys to just free agency and money and business. But what do you guys take from this?
Yeah, I know their secondary is good, and I don't know what they're going to do with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, but Brian Branch is right there, and I know their safety. There have been some safety issues with the Eagles. So I believe they either take him or, like you said, an offensive lineman to replace Jason Kelce.
Yeah, I don't really see the need for a receiver here with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. A.J. Brown, of course, signing the big deal last offseason, and Smith only being in his 3rd year. I think maybe if you really were desperate, you could take a guy to be your number 3 receiver. But yeah, I think you take either Brian Branch to replace possibly C.J. Gardner-Johnson if they do let him leave, or a lineman, because again, you don't know with Jason Kelce. But I think Brian Branch is a good pick for the Eagles here at 10.
Brian Branch, just in case anyone was curious, he played 13 games this year. He his coverage snaps. He played 416 coverage snaps. He was also out there 308 times for running. He had 74 tackles, 15 assists. He didn't miss a lot of tackles. He only missed 4 in his entire 3-year career with Alabama. I think he provides a lot of potential as well, especially when you come out of Alabama. I think that's just a given. The potential is pretty high for you. So, Brian Branch going to the Philadelphia Eagles, official selection. 3 Alabama Crimson Tide players in the top 10 picks this year. Now, number 11. Oh, look who it is. That's crazy. Alex, I'm going to let you kind of take the reins on this one.
So, the Titans, they need a lot of help on the offensive side. Of course, there's a lot of doubt whether Ryan Tannehill will be back next year quarterback, but with Richardson and Stroud and Bryce Young all gone, they definitely aren't going to take a quarterback here. Wide receiver's a big need, but I think the biggest one is offensive lineman, as Taylor Lewan has missed so many games over the last 3 years. He's had two torn ACLs in 3 years. He's going to get cut because he has a $14 million cap hit, and Tennessee's already in the negatives. And I cannot sit through another game watching Dennis Daly play left tackle. I
love this. I've never seen this side of him before.
He only started half the games this season and still led the league in sacks allowed. So Tennessee has to look at line, and I think with Paris Johnson Jr. sitting there, the tackle from Ohio State, I think that has to be your pick if you're Tennessee at 11.
Paris Johnson is going to the Tennessee Titans this year, the Ohio State tackle. Alrighty, Houston is back at it again. They did trade with Cleveland for this pick, another pick that was traded, of course, with the Deshaun Watson trade. Their needs quarterback. However, we did get them getting Bryce Young, so quarterback technically isn't a need anymore. D-line, center. Gentlemen, I think personally I'd go offensive line towards this team. I think their D-line has a lot of potential and a lot of young talent already. For me, Osiris Torrance, Steve Villiers, Luke Weipler, very legit guys here, but who are we taking?
You know, the Bengals also needed offensive line help when they selected Jamar Chase. And we gave the Texans Bryce Young, and so I'm actually looking at receiver right now because outside of Brandon Cooks, they might even get rid of him because he's been wanting to get out of there for a long time now. I'm looking at Jordan Addison or Jackson Smith and Jigba, but I wouldn't hesitate to go offensive line either. I would like to hear your guys' take too.
Yeah, I really like the thought of receiver. I actually was thinking about it myself because, again, Brandon Cooks is getting older, and he might be on the move because he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild as he's getting older. And then they took John Mechie last year, but with his leukemia, you don't know what his status is going to be. So again, while line wouldn't be the worst thing, I think receiver, just to get one of those talented guys to pair with a new quarterback, could be a good move.
So I'll be thinking, I think it's pretty obvious that the top two guys that would be here, I think would be taken in the first round, especially this high. Would it be Addison or Njigba?
I think it'd be Njigba just because Ohio State always produces a great wide receivers. I mean, you saw two last year and one won the Rookie of the Year. So I think Njigba goes before Addison.
He did have his best year was in 2021. He did face a lot of injury this year. He only played 3 games. With only 39 yards. So last season he did have almost 1,600 yards receiving. A lot of potential. College is a different beast than the NFL. Well, I should say the NFL is a different beast than college. But so we're going to go with a Jackson Smith and Njigba. We'll be going to the Houston Texans. Let's give our boy Bryce Young some help on the receiving core. Number 13, the New York Jets pick quarterback, quarterback, tackle, or linebacker. To me, this team atrociously needs defensive help. I think you can hold out with Mike White maybe for another year or two. I don't know why people are kind of passing him. What's your guys' take on that?
Yeah, I think they could definitely stick with having a Mike White for a year, especially with that upcoming class, Caleb Williams, and with offensive line tackle. I think you can try and give Mekhi Becton another year. He's had a lot of injury history, but he was a first-round pick a few years ago. Whenever he was playing, he was pretty good. So I think you can hold off on even that and try and give him one more go. So I think defensively they could go anywhere on there. Maybe a Brian Brees or even a Van Ness for them.
Yeah, I'm thinking Van Ness as well. I know that their quarterback, and maybe they need a safety too, but I just don't see them reaching that far for a safety, and I can't even think. I think they need edge help right now. And I agree they can stick it out with Mike White, or they can get a veteran quarterback. This quarterback class isn't too bad in that wise, so I think they take Van Ness as well.
Van Ness, 6 hits, 9 sacks, 31 hurries. He played 13 games this year. His grade's an 80.2. You've convinced me. Lucas Van Ness is going to be heading the edge rush out of Iowa to the New York Jets. Pick number 14 belongs to the New England Patriots. Their need, for some reason, says quarterback. Don't know why. I think Mac Jones is. I think he's a legit starter in this league. Tackle, edge, but nonetheless, gentlemen, what are we thinking here?
I could see them going with a Peter Skoronski. I think he's, again, one of the best tackles in this class, and Isaiah Wynn's status kind of up in the air on the Patriots. But another area that I could see them possibly going is maybe a receiver like a Jordan Addison to pair with Mac Jones, because they don't really have a whole lot of weapons there. I mean, they have Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers, who's a free agent, so I could maybe see them trying to get a game-changing wide receiver to go with Mac Jones as well.
Yeah, I can see that too. I mean, they really need that game-changing one. I mean, they Jacoby Myers isn't bad by any stretch of means, but he is a free agent. They got Kendrick Bourne. I mean, those are all like kind of maybe a little bit above average receiver, maybe average, but they really need a game changer, and I think maybe Jordan Addison is that guy to be the game changer.
Jordan Addison to the Patriots. Can we agree?
Yeah.
Jordan Addison heading to the New England Patriots here. He's ranked ranked number 17. He's going to be going 14 to the New England Patriots. Green Bay Packers are now officially on the clock with the 15th overall pick. We're just near halfway through this first round. I believe we're only going to get through the first round today. We'll continue the second round now for next week. Nonetheless, Packers need a receiver, tight end, edge rush, linebacker. Remember, they still don't have a quarterback technically yet. Do you look at Hendon Hooker, or are we thinking let's go tight end?
I think they. I just don't think they look at quarterback right now. I believe Aaron Rodgers will return, or he's going to the Raiders, but I just don't think they look at quarterback. 'Cause they also have Jordan Love too. We can't forget about him. And so I'm looking at tight end, and I see Dalton Kincaid, who's a really good tight end out of Utah.
I did like him. Michael Mayer too, or Michael Mayer, excuse me, out of Notre Dame. I think those are your top two guys. I'd take Mayer a little bit over Kincaid, but they're still both incredibly talented.
I think so too. I would have to.
Yeah, I think that it would definitely go with tight end. I agree. I think Mayer's a little bit better than Kincaid, so I think Green Bay, I mean, they couldn't go wrong with either, but I think if they wanted the best value, I think they take Mayer here.
Michael Mayer, 15th overall pick, heading to the Green Bay Packers. Now, 16, we got the Washington Commanders. Washington, interesting quarterback situation. Carson Wentz, what do you do with him? Taylor Heineke, what do you do with him? They do have Sam Howard. I don't think they go quarterback. I don't think they need to go quarterback. I still think their situation is interesting. You got guard, center, and linebacker as other positions of need. What are we thinking?
I wouldn't be surprised if they took an offensive lineman, but I'm looking at a cornerback, Christian Gonzalez, and he's kind of just sitting there, and Washington needs more secondary help really desperately, and I think that he could be their guy for the future.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. They traded away William Jackson this season, and outside of Kendall Fuller, they don't really have anybody, and so I think a guy as talented as Gonzalez, you can't really pass on at this point in the draft.
Christian Gonzalez, final answer. Lock it in. We'll have there. They actually did a mock draft. Someone did a mock draft for the Commanders a little bit ago, and they had Christian Gonzalez as their pick. 17, Pittsburgh Steelers. To me, it's funny to me because the Steelers need defensive help bad, linebacker and quarterback being those top two spots. I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with me on this, especially here at Waynesburg, but to me, the Steelers could use a guy like Joey Porter Jr. His passer rating allowing is 63.6. That's really good. Played 10 games this year. He also utilize on the offensive side of the ball too. I think he's just opens up a lot of different options. However, the Steelers at linebacker, if you want to look at the available linebackers that remain here in the draft, you also got Diane Henley. You got, let's see who else. Trenton Simpson. Where do you guys sit on this?
Yeah, I think they might take Joey Porter. It just seems too perfect, right? Joey Porter Sr. played on Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, and he was a coach too.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they desperately need. I know they desperately need secondary help. You can't have Witherspoon or somebody out there.
I can't watch another game like that. So Joey Porter Jr.
Yeah.
Joey Porter Jr. to the Pittsburgh Steelers with the 17th overall pick. Detroit Lions are up next with the 18th overall pick. Who are we taking, guys?
I think they definitely don't need offensive line help. That's one thing. I think they have a pick. They did. We did take a cornerback for them. I think we stay on the defensive side.
They do have Anzalone, but linebacker is a need.
Yes. I think. Yeah, I'm looking through these people here. Oh man, you want to stay here, Pam?
I think maybe they take Brian Brees. He's a guy who I've seen in some mock drafts go as high as in the top 10, and he's a really talented defensive lineman. They could really use a guy on the interior there, I think. He could be a pick for them here at 18.
I think I like that too, actually. The interior defensive lineman.
Interior defensive line, Brian Brees out of Clemson. Give it to him. He's going to Detroit. All right, 19, we got the Bucks. They do technically have Kyle Trask, and they do have a company as well down there as technically quarterback. But tight end guard, I'm safety center, defensive lineman. What are we taking here?
I think I'd take Hendon Hooker. I'm looking at it, and I just don't think they want Kyle Trask starting as a quarterback. That's just a terrible situation to be in. And I mean, Hendon Hooker has some potential. Maybe you have a quarterback battle or bring a veteran in to start a couple of games before you put in Hooker right away. But they could also go tight end because they desperately need that too. They need a lot of positions to fill this offseason.
Yeah, I could definitely see them taking a Hooker or even a Tanner McKee. But at the same time, I agree. They could look to go tight end, and Kincaid is still right there. So I think any of those three would be a good pick for the Buccaneers at 19.
For me, I think if anything, you go Dalton Kincaid. I don't think they need a quarterback. I mean, Kyle Trask is definitely improving. He needs a lot of work, but Kincaid, not a bad option. Seattle, 20th overall pick. They need offensive line help. Bad. Really, really, really bad. They need a guard. I think they take Torrance of Florida.
Yeah, I agree too. They got some decent tackle with in the last draft. Actually, they got a steal. Abraham Lucas, I believe, and Charles Cross at the 9th pick was just home run picks at that point. And now I think they need to solidify it even more for Geno Smith behind there, and I do think they take Torrance.
All right, Osiris Torrance, you're going to be heading to Seattle. The Miami has forfeited their pick, of course, with some, NFL drama. We're not really going to get into that right now. 21st overall pick, though, is going to the LA Chargers. Receiver, tackle, linebacker, corner. To me, this team could definitely use some defensive help in linebacker or corner. But with how Mike Williams and Keenan Allen have been hurt recently, going receiver doesn't seem also impossible.
I think they might look to go tackle here as well. That's one of the other needs. And I think you have two really good tackles still on the board at this point in Skoronski and even Broderick Jones from Georgia. So I could really see the Chargers taking one of those guys here at that pick, or even if they go corner, maybe Deontay Banks from Maryland.
Yeah, I agree with the offensive lineman pick. I mean, you got to solidify the line for your superstar quarterback, and you got the left side solidified with Rashawn Slater. I think Skoronski will be the pick here.
He plays left tackle. He's only ever played left tackle, but he's only allowed 1 sack, 2 hits, and a few hurries. So he brings a lot of it. So I'm going to say we go Skoronski. Peter Skoronski is heading to the LA Chargers. Now, Ryan, take it away. Not even going to say anything else.
All right. So the Ravens need receiver help, and with Njigba and Jordan Addison both gone, I thought they were going to be here. But in looking at the needs of the other teams, I think they need to be gone. I'm looking at a defensive lineman in Kancey or Zay Flowers, and I think I'm going to have to go with Zay Flowers just because of the huge need at receiver.
Yeah, I mean, he is ranked 22nd. We're at the 22nd pick, so it makes sense. But Zay Flowers out of Boston College, talented kid, 12 games played this year. He had 78 receptions for just over 1,000 yards. So the potential is there to be a legit, at least a wide receiver 2 or 3. So we'll go Boston College, Zay Flowers. Vikings, pick number 23. They need defensive help. It's the only needs really they need right now. D-line, linebacker, corner.
Yeah, I think Kancey goes here. He's the best available player, and he's a defensive lineman they need. Yeah.
I agree with that. I think Kancey is a highly ranked guy, and I think the Vikings would love to have him here at 23.
Hail to Pitt, baby. Hail to it. I'm all for it. Kancey out of Pitt going to the Minnesota Vikings. All right, Jacksonville, pick number 24, guard, center, DB. I think what they need most, to be honest, is a center. If I'm picking for center, we got Luke Weipler, Michael Schmitz, Joe Tippmann. What are we thinking?
Yeah, the centers might be a little bit of a reach at this point, but they're definitely not bad, and they need to protect Joe Trevor Lawrence at the quarterback position. So I am looking at Luke Weipler too.
Yeah, I like Luke Weipler here again. They have to make sure Lawrence stays upright, and I think this is a great pick to help with that.
Luke Weipler, give it to him. He'll be heading out to help out Trevor Lawrence over in Jacksonville. Giants have the 25th overall pick. To me, tight end is probably your need. Number one need. Wide receiver as well could be legit. I think anything to help whoever's at quarterback, probably Daniel Jones to help. What do you guys think?
I think after watching last year, I think they definitely are going to look to go receiver. They didn't hit on Kadarius Toney, but I think after seeing the wide receivers they had out in this game or in the games last year, I think they got to go wide receiver. I think Nathaniel Dell is a great pick.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, when you get your receivers are getting hurt every play, I mean that's you got to draft somebody who can really just stay out there, and you need to get a young guy too. I think Nathaniel Dell is that guy.
Nathaniel Dell, he has some good stats. Just real quick, I mean, he had 108 receptions, 1 yard away from 1,400 yards, 17 touchdowns. He got a resume. Let's give it to him. They also got Hodgins as well, who they're going to re-sign, who did really good in the postseason for the Giants. I think he has potential there too. 26th overall pick. The Dallas Cowboys, receiver, defensive lineman, linebacker. I personally think this team needs D-line. I actually don't think they need D-line. That's a lie because they do. I mean, you got Micah Parsons coming off the edge. You got DeMarcus Lawrence. I think linebacker is probably one of the spots you need to address more because especially if Micah's going to be playing up on the line. Linebacker, I think Hanley or Simpson is definitely a good take here. I mean, Simpson would be a stretch, but, I mean, Hanley's not.
Yeah, I think they need a linebacker after Jalen Smith failed. After I think they released him like a year or two ago. Really haven't had anybody else. Leighton Van Der Esch is he's kind of average. He's hurt every year. I think Henley should be the pick here.
All right.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Hanley from Washington State heads to the Dallas Cowboys. Jimmy probably gives him a $30 million deal. So Buffalo, 27th overall pick. Guard, center, DB are what they need most. I think you need offensive line help. Josh Allen, too many times he's scrambling for his life this year. What are you guys thinking?
I think the offensive line is in need, but I don't know if they're gonna reach that far. They might take Steve Avila. I don't really know how to say that. But they also need a cornerback help with Tre'Davious White. He seems like he's hurt every season, and there's a cornerback too. They did take Kyer Elam, and maybe Deontay Banks, or they need a safety or wherever. But I do think they take a guard to keep Josh Allen upright.
Yeah, all right. So guard, if we look at other, I mean, there are a lot of really good tackles remaining. Broderick Jones, Miles Murphy's an edge. I mean, those are just some of the top guys that are still remaining. Anton Harrison, a tackle out of Oklahoma. Do we think are we committed on guard, or we think he maybe tackle?
I think they would go maybe guard here. I think in the later rounds, the first round or the late first round, I think you really see some teams really reaching for positional needs, and I think the Bills could do that here.
So Steve Avila out of TCU.
Yep.
All right, number 20, pick number 28 for the Cincinnati Bengals. They need D lineman and corner help really, really bad. I think Deontay Banks out of Maryland's the pick here.
I think so too. I mean, when you have Eli Apple starting the Super Bowl, Super Bowl, AFC Championship game, that's when you know you've got a problem. You need to address it with Deontay Banks.
Very fair. Deontay Banks going here at 28. 29 for the Saints. They traded this pick with the 49ers. You need a quarterback. You don't have anything guaranteed yet. Getting a young guy in there, especially with Winston out. Do you think Hendon Hooker here? Or Tanner McKee, at Stanford as well.
I think you got to go quarterback. I mean, this is a 29th pick. You're not going to get too much out of, upside, basically. It's near the end of the round. I mean, you might as well take a big swing at a quarterback here.